Okay, hello. For those of you who haven't been a part of our community for a long time, my name is Edward Cable, and I'm currently now the President CEO of the Mifos Initiative. I have been guiding our global open source community for the past 10 years, and today I'm going to show you how you can join us on the journey to Financial Inclusion 2.0. As most of you know, the Mifos Initiative is an award-winning, nonprofit, free and open source software project dedicated to ending poverty one line of code at a time. More than 300 institutions across 5 continents reach more than 6 million clients through our software solutions. You all have been an integral part of our partner-driven global community, delivering groundbreaking solutions for financial inclusion. With this global community and our visionary leadership, we are the leaders in technology for financial inclusion. The industry as a whole has gone through 3 distinct transformations, and you all have been there at each step of the way. In its first generation, microfinances pioneered by Dr. Mohammed Yunus captivated the world with Grameen-style joint liability group lending. Recognizing that access to credit wasn't the only key to poverty alleviation, the industry pushed forth financial inclusion and the widespread access to the full range of financial services, credit, savings, insurance, and payments to provide the poor a means of smoothing out economic consumption. And now, with the ubiquity of mobile phones, the connectivity of the cloud, and the power of big data, digital financial services are transforming financial inclusion. For the past decade, at each stage of the journey, Mifos has been a pioneer at the forefront of new innovation for poverty alleviation. In 2006, as a project of the Grameen Foundation, we launched our Generation 1 software, Mifos 2, as the world's first open-source, web-based MIS for joint liability group microfinance. In 2011, we spun Mifos out as a separate nonprofit initiative and launched our Generation 2 software, Mifos X, the world's first truly open, API-driven platform for financial inclusion. And now, in 2017, the Mifos Initiative, as a project of the Apache Software Foundation, has launched our Generation 3, Mifos IO, the world's first digital financial services platform brought forward by Quaylab, built on top of an open-source, cloud-native application framework for digital financial services. This current generation we're entering is the most exciting transition of all. A total transformation of all banking technology has begun, including, perhaps, especially, technology for financial inclusion. I'm going to show you examples of this transformation from all around the world and how you can join us on this journey to Financial Inclusion 2.0. Most of you already know this since you've been long-standing members of the community, but I would like to put the generations of Mifos technology into context for you, because to understand where we are going, it is so important to understand where we have come from. Generation 1 was a project of the Grameen Foundation's Technology Center. It was an MIS solution for Grameen-style joint liability lending, the methodology pioneered by Dr. Mohammed Yunus, for which he won the Nobel Peace Prize. The project began with our first deployment in India at Grameen Kuta, who used the Mifos software to scale from 25,000 clients all the way up to 1 million clients. Mifos 2 was also deployed at several other large institutions, including BTPN in Indonesia, and Enda and Al Majmua in the MENA region. With these early successes in demonstrating the viability of an open source software for microfinance, Mifos became an independent nonprofit company and set out to grow its global community. Paul Moritz became our chairman, and I, along with Craig Chellis, took the helm to launch Mifos X, our Generation 2 solution. Generation 2 of Mifos, you all fondly know as Mifos X. It's a complete core banking system for small and medium institutions, and it's used by head offices, branches, and field operations. And with Mifos X, we had 2 main goals. The first was to provide an extensible platform to enable a partner community to sustainably support open source software and to build brand new solutions on top of the platform. And secondly, we wanted to provide the entire industry a core banking platform that horizontally scaled across all forms of financial inclusion. Mifos X is a full-featured solution for all sorts of financial institutions and provides everything needed to run an institution delivering financial inclusion at whatever level. Since the first production-ready release of Mifos X became available in 2013, we've been delighted with the progress we achieved with our two main goals. The platform is being used by organizations of all sizes and methodologies worldwide: microfinance institutions, credit unions, SACCOs, savings groups, asset financing companies, Islamic microfinance institutions, rural banks, peer-to-peer financiers. We've also been able to grow an expansive partner community with social businesses building innovative solutions. Companies like Mifos Services and Conflux Technologies have built their own cloud-based systems, reaching hundreds of institutions across Africa and Asia. And they've also begun to use the platform to build new innovation beyond traditional brick-and-mortar microfinance institutions: mobile wallets, automated lending, mobile money engines. And it is this new innovation that has prompted our next evolution to Generation 3. The partners and innovators in our community have told us loud and clear that what they must have is a platform upon which they can deliver fast and cheap innovation, a platform that provides them with the infrastructure they need so they don't have to reinvent the wheel for every app, service, or region they want to serve, freeing up significant time and money so they can stay market-oriented and customer-focused, so that the smallest of teams can deliver the biggest of ideas. Now let us look to the present and to the future. A total transformation of banking technology has begun, and this transformation is occurring at all levels: technology, the business solution, and leadership. And the fault line is between standalone and closed versus connected and open. So let's take a closer look at each level of the transformation. Technology. The old technology, and regrettably, the current technology for most, is the technology of standalone isolation, high costs, and limited reach. I will show you that standalone core banking systems are obsolete, that standalone institutions will fail, and that serving people one at a time or in small groups is not working, because there are still 4 billion people with no or ineffective financial services right now. And before we look at each layer a little bit further, let me just briefly touch on the definition of cloud native, since our Generation 3 framework is going to be cloud native. So based on our knowledge and experience over this past decade, we've realized that the time has come to create a cloud native, microservice-oriented framework to build digital financial services. Containerized microservices that run in a dynamically managed environment will allow and support the deployment of lean and agile innovations. And applications that want to be able to utilize this lean and agile approach must respect some boundaries that are collectively called cloud native, according to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And you can see these boundaries on the slide in front of you. Now that we know a bit more about cloud native and how that's going to be the framework that powers our digital financial services platforms, let's talk about the digital financial services platform as a solution itself. DFSPs, or digital financial services platforms, are not cloud-hosted core banking systems. Rather, they are a complete transformation in technology. They are, 1, cloud native, whereby the cloud is the operating system and business services are directly embedded in the cloud. This makes these solutions massively scalable, highly modular, and easily adaptable. Secondly, they are based on global standards, which are open source and drive shared innovation. And lastly, they are delivered as a service that's readily accessible to be directly used by a business, has low operational costs, and provides a single point of contact with digital transactions and mobile apps. Digital financial services platforms enable what we call Financial Inclusion 2.0, which is the fast, low-cost, mobile delivery of digital financial services. Digital financial services aren't simply business service platforms, they are rather business innovation platforms. With a digital financial service platform, we remove the headache and stress of costly investment in new fintech solutions so you as practitioners can focus on service delivery and innovation on the platform. 80% of your time and money doesn't have to be spent buying, building, maintaining, or upgrading banking systems. You can put your full focus on customers by configuring innovative products and services that are connected to digital payment and transaction systems and that are delivered via mobile apps. McKinsey, in collaboration with the Gates Foundation, just published a report on digital financial services this past year. It's a powerful endorsement of the initial white paper that we released on Financial Inclusion 2.0, and the findings are quite astonishing. The introduction of a digital financial services platform will rapidly bring 1.6 billion people into the financial system and generate trillions, yes, trillions of economic activity. You can find this report on McKinsey's site, and I'll share it in the notes that we send along after today's webinar. But I wanted to look at a few other details from the report. So to further emphasize the cost savings enabled by digital financial services, here's a brief graphic that shows that digital technologies can reduce the cost of client onboarding, account maintenance, and cash in and cash out and money transfers by 80 to 90% versus traditional operations. In that same report, the Global McKinsey Institute cites 3 required building blocks for digital financial services adoption. The first is the need for widespread digital infrastructure. We help to provide open technologies, standards, and business models to achieve those exact building blocks. We provide open source core banking infrastructure as a service that provides one single point of connectivity to the digital payments and personal identification systems. And by establishing Mifos and Apache Fineract as the open standard for financial inclusion and innovation, we can achieve greater uniformity for regulators and advance scalable and sustainable business models. And lastly, if we free practitioners up from having to build out infrastructure, they can focus on the unique services and applications that truly add value to their clients. These pictures tell us all we need to know. When standalone institutions unite on digital financial services platforms, and every person has a phone, and every phone is connected to a digital payment system, then every phone is a bank, and every person is accessible at low cost, and every conceivable financial service is simply an app. The future of financial inclusion is the fast, low-cost, mobile delivery of digital financial services, and we call this Financial Inclusion 2.0. And we at the Mifos Initiative have been leading the transformation. Our architecture has been transformed, our solution has been transformed, and our community has been transformed. I'm now going to take a closer look at our transition to Apache Fineract to help show how we are going to establish this as an emerging global open standard for financial inclusion. As many of you know, we just recently announced our graduation to a top-level project in the Apache Software Foundation. This is an incredible milestone, and many thanks go out to the members of the community who helped us to get there. As we all know, open source is not free. Millions of dollars, in fact, are spent on open source. Open source really means open standards. The real purpose of open source is to develop standards that drive the delivery of services at massive scale, whether electricity, transportation, communication, or in our case, financial inclusion. Software companies, industry groups, and regulators collaborate on open source projects to develop and enhance these global standards. Global standards drive deployment at scale, and standards are how innovations become widespread, accessible, everyday reality. We're now going to take a look at one case study from an open source platform you might know in Hadoop. Big data is transforming all fields from medicine to agricultural, transportation, and urban planning. Soon it will also transform the world of financial inclusion. The way this happened is a case study in how an explosion of innovation comes from open source and open standards. Hadoop is an open source framework for storing and processing very large data sets. It was originally proposed in a white paper by Google and then launched by Yahoo, and has now become the standard that underlies the use of big data, is used by more than half of the Fortune 50, and is supported by companies around the world, including a number of major professional support providers. We want to do the same with Apache Fineract for financial inclusion. An open standard is essential for the growth and innovation we need to reach the goals of universal financial inclusion and ending poverty. That is why our software has and always will be open source. For financial inclusion, we are following the same path as Hadoop and aiming at the same result, to provide a common global standard. The concept behind Mifos originated from the Grameen Foundation. It was launched within Grameen as Mifos 2. We then spun out and launched the second generation Mifos X, and now we've built Generation 3 as the next necessary step as a framework for digital financial services. We've moved the software under the governance of the Apache Software Foundation, and we continue to have the support of large corporate partners and our global network of partners who provide professional services. And our goal is to help have the platform reach the 2 billion people who need to be brought into the world of financial inclusion. A digital financial services platform delivers significant benefits to all players in the ecosystem. For providers of financial services, it does that through faster innovation, connectivity to digital mobile services, and lower IT and operating costs. For regulators and investors, it yields consistent real-time reporting, transparency of results, and uniform regulatory supervision. Mifos, in partnership with associations, networks, and apex organizations, is deploying digital financial services platforms across entire countries and regions worldwide. Our goal is to transform standalone institutions working through expensive intermediaries into highly connected institutions achieving self-sufficiency. Quailap is our Lighthouse partner leading the way, and we'd like more partners in the community to follow as a hosting provider of a digital financial services platform. But providing one common and open digital financial services platform for a country, we can achieve a single point of connectivity to all the emerging digital payment systems, a single point of integration for mobile app development, and a single standard for information and transparency to the regulators. Everybody likes to refer to mobile money and digital financial services as the digital rails. We are at an unprecedented time to become the locomotive that fuels innovation on these so-called rails. Globally, mobile money APIs are becoming more open to enable new products, services, and delivery channels. The power of cloud computing is supporting unparalleled analytics and risk analysis. Regulations across all markets are becoming more enabling for fintech and digital financial services, and the ubiquity of smartphones in regions like Myanmar and other countries are enabling mobile-first innovation. In countries like India, we see open financial inclusion infrastructure like their India Stack APIs, and in countries like Ecuador, we see the adoption of national electronic money systems. Cloud-native digital financial services platforms are instrumental in equipping our community to go after these massive opportunities in this lucky time in history of financial inclusion. As I said, the Mifos Initiative is leading the way in building out these regional ecosystems to adopt, innovate, and achieve transformative impact with digital financial services platforms. Our transformation projects are starting to kick off all around the world. We are driving advocacy and outreach to the apex organizations and associations seeking a common solution, and to regulators and funders needing transparency. We are building up and certifying local innovators to build innovative solutions on top of the platform and provide local support and capacity building for adoption. And we are making these available via a marketplace of solutions and applications and hosting providers of these platforms. And all of this is using the global open source standard for financial inclusion, Apache Fineract. Now that you've seen our vision for Financial Inclusion 2.0, let's take a closer look at how the strategy for the Mifos Initiative will evolve as we've transitioned our software governance to the Apache Software Foundation to help establish an open standard, and as we've spun out Quailab to bring digital financial services platforms to market on top of our new Generation 3 Mifos architecture. You can see a short synopsis of our new mission right here, and I'm going to continue to explore that in greater detail now. As the Generation 3 Mifos architecture helps us usher in the new era of digital financial services platforms, our focus will still be on stewarding a global community for financial inclusion and innovation, but we will evolve our programs and activities to build out the ecosystems for the adoption of digital financial services platforms. Our comprehensive strategy, displayed in this graphic, allows us to fuel a global community and sustain a vibrant ecosystem that supplies open source solutions and innovations that respond to the demand of the financial inclusion sector. As the Secretariat hub for these solutions, we provide both the education and capacity building for adoption of these solutions and a partner channel to support, host, and build them. If you take a look first at the demand level, we are conducting outreach and advocacy to bring together associations, apex organizations, national regulators, and sectoral funders to educate them on the value of digital financial services platforms and shared open standards. On the supply side, we champion the needs of financial inclusion within the Apache Fineract community to establish it as the open source standard and to guide volunteers and partners to contribute effectively. We have created and will continue to grow our global partner channel to now host digital financial services platforms, support and implement them, and build innovation on top of them. With these platforms out there and the innovations on them, we will then act as a Secretariat hub, hosting a marketplace of open source financial inclusion solutions, including a reference digital financial services platform and the innovations built by partners that are powered by Mifos and Apache Fineract. Through our partner channel, we will educate and equip financial institutions to adopt these digital financial services platforms and achieve value from technology through service innovation. And underlying it all is our global community that we steward, which enables the widespread collaboration and knowledge sharing to fuel the local ecosystems and drive towards an open standard. I'm going to take a closer look at each segment of the diagram on the next several slides. First off, if we take a look at what we're doing in terms of outreach and advocacy, we want to both build demand for digital financial services platforms as well as establish thought leadership. In building demand, we're going to do outreach to the associations and governmental regulators. We're going to continue to promote the Mifos brand at a global level and form partnerships with industry bodies and associations so they can know the value of these platforms and be ready to adopt them. At the level of thought leadership, we need to be bold in telling the story of innovation that's already occurred in our community, and we need to do this through the case studies of the innovations that you, our users, and you, our partners, have either used or built to date. We also need to measure the impact of the deployments to date and then form industry partnerships with leading bodies like the SMART campaign, the Better Than Cash and Alliance, the Center for Financial Inclusion, so we can establish ourselves as the leader for financial inclusion and build off of the brand that we've established over the past decade. Looking at the supply side, within the broader Apache Fineract community, we at the Mifos Initiative want to serve as the voice for financial inclusion, and we will do that in two main ways. First off, we need to champion the requirements of the users across our community and also establish and enforce responsible design standards so that the solutions that are developed are user-driven. We will then work to cultivate the solutions that are needed by our community within the Apache Fineract community through both partners and volunteers. As we've done in the past, we're going to continue to recruit and engage volunteers of all sorts, whether they be technical or non-technical, so they can contribute to our mission of financial inclusion. So just so you understand, the Apache Fineract community will likely grow and beyond financial inclusion and be broader than that. But we at the Mifos Initiative always want to be the leading voice for that financial inclusion segment and continue to champion its needs and keep our partner community focused on our social mission at heart. Our global channel partner channel is necessary to continue to both deliver these digital financial services platforms and build new innovation on top of them. Currently, we have both platform partners and deployment partners, and these partner models are going to evolve just slightly into the way you see on the diagram here. So currently, our platform partners take the platform and through the APIs build solutions. Most of our existing platform partners to date will now either become the digital financial service platform provider doing hosting of an actual digital financial services platform, or they will become an innovation partner building on top of the framework or building on top of a hosted platform. And then our current deployment partners will evolve to become implementers of digital financial services platforms. As we articulated on the slide before, we're moving away from just standalone one-off deployments. So we hope that most of our deployment partners in the community who might be delivering Mifos X one institution at a time can work together with a regional digital financial services platform provider to distribute, implement, and provide services of a hosted digital financial services platform. But we think there's tremendous value in these new partner channels, especially on the innovation front, and we're going to be driving an aggressive strategy to reach out to the many incubators and tech hubs that are out there worldwide to identify startups and fintech companies who are looking to build new innovations and aren't just supporting your traditional brick and mortar financial institutions. Once we have a partner channel that's building solutions, the Mifos Initiative will continue to be that central neutral body that helps to drive the solutions ecosystem of open source solutions powered by Mifos and Apache Fineract. The common tools that we'll provide to help enable this ecosystem include a reference digital financial services platform. So this will both serve as a reference implementation that users can use, and we also aim to provide this as a globally accessible digital financial services platform that can be available at low cost to those institutions that might not have a digital financial services platform provider within their region. And then we'll also provide a platform hosting toolkit, which will be a set of guidelines and tools to help partners who want to make the investment in the cloud infrastructure to become a digital financial service platform provider to be able to do so. And then once the framework is in place at the digital financial services platform, we'll continue to drive a partner directory such that users can find partners that have solutions and partners can identify individuals within their community that need solutions. We'll develop and maintain a services marketplace, so any institution that's looking for services can find a partner to provide them, and partners can be aware of opportunities in which they can deliver their talents and skills. And lastly, as more and more apps and innovations are built on top of the framework and these new platforms, we'll provide an app store and a marketplace to identify and cultivate these top-notch solutions that are on the platform. And lastly, I want to take a close look at the global community that's underlying it all. The Mifos Initiative will still provide the community infrastructure to power the financial inclusion community that's collaborating worldwide. We'll provide the community governance model to enable community leaders to have ownership over the Mifos community and work towards becoming committers and members of the Apache Fineract project. We'll continue to host online events and have more local events. So we're looking to do 2 to 3 regional events or conferences each year. We're going to have a stronger presence at industry conferences. And then we're going to be deeply stimulating the networks of local chapters that we're looking to start. These chapters will help to provide the on-the-ground collaboration and develop a groundswell of interest adopting digital financial services platforms. And then we're also going to be working with local tech hubs and innovation spaces to build out innovation labs that are powered by Generation 3 and these new digital financial services platforms. So we've been doing extensive research on where these tech hubs and incubators are and developing a strategy we want to take forward. So we look forward to working with you in the community to help us grow these innovation labs. So if we go back to looking at our goal, helping to achieve a standard, the achievement of a global open standard for financial inclusion can help us to accelerate and drive the pace of innovation. This pace of rapid innovation and development of new solutions will in turn help us to scale our impact. Everything we're doing around this open standard in launching Quailap as our Lighthouse partner for Generation 3 and setting the stage for other digital financial service platform providers to come to market is putting the Mifos Initiative and our global community on a path to long-term sustainability in two ways. First off, on the business development front, we, the Mifos Initiative, as a global NGO with a strong brand and social mission, will conduct the outreach and awareness at a national and global level to help to stimulate demand and generate business opportunities for solutions developed by our partners. And based on the value that the Mifos Initiative can provide, our goal is that partners will share a portion of their revenue back with Mifos as a platinum sponsor. This is the model that Quailap is trying to promote as the initial Lighthouse partner, and we want to work with other globally oriented partners to do the same. And then, based on the traction, scale, and impact of the solutions that are powered by Mifos and Apache Fineract and delivered and supported by the partners in our community, this will in turn elevate our thought leadership and help to boost our brand and credibility so we can return to soliciting grants from major foundations to fuel our social mission. Admittedly, going after these grants hasn't been a priority of the Mifos Initiative over the past several years, but we recognize that we've had an outsized impact on the industry, and once we go out there and start to tell our story and the many case studies of the successes of our community, that we can succeed in helping to elevate ourselves as a thought leader and be able to work closely with larger foundations like Gates, the Ford Foundation, Dell Foundation, etc. So now that you've seen what our vision is for Financial Inclusion 2.0 and how the strategy for Mifos will continue to evolve, I want to just help you understand where we are now and where we're heading. As we've articulated in the releases we've sent via our newsletters recently, we first off defined the vision of Financial Inclusion 2.0. We then defined and established the architecture for how to deliver such a digital financial services platform to fulfill this vision. We then moved the software into the Apache Software Foundation by becoming a top-level project, and we've begun the development process of the Generation 3 framework. Now that the Generation 3 framework is out there on GitHub, our goal is to formally release Mifos Generation 3 into the Apache Software Foundation as Apache Fineract 2.0, and really then be able to enable the partner community to start building solutions such that our user community can start taking advantage of Generation 3. With everything starting to take up and gain momentum on Generation 2, you might be wondering what's happening with Generation 2, Mifos X. As we've talked about on previous developer meetings and other community-wide calls, the goal of Mifos X right now in terms of software development is to stabilize and make this a mature and robust platform as it's powering more than 250 financial institutions worldwide. With that in mind, the main focus of the core team is to provide bug fixes and help to bring in innovations led by our community. To that end, over the past several months, we've scaled down our core team resources, and we now have moved from having 3 full-time developers as well as a couple QA staff to having just 1 senior developer and 1 QA and support staff who are guiding the community. Hopefully you've seen that this has still been able to continue to drive bug fixes and help the community. And that's been possible because we've been able to successfully bring on several members of our community who've really stepped up to become independent maintainers of the various repositories of the solutions that are powered by Apache Fineract and part of our Mifos X distribution. For our web app, or our community app as most of you know it, individuals like Gaurav, Mohit, and Malik have really stepped up to help maintain that. And then at our mobile suite of tools, individuals like Ishan and Rajan have stepped up to help maintain and power our mobile apps for field officers as well as clients. But despite the scaling back of core resources and looking to the community to drive more of the development of Mifos X, the innovation isn't stopping. Our participation in this year's Google Summer of Code is a great example of that. And it's also a great example of the value that Mifos will provide as a voice of financial inclusion within the Apache Fineract community. If you take a look at the applications for Mifos and Apache Software Foundation as a whole for this year's Google Summer of Code program, we had nearly as many applicants as Apache Software Foundation itself. This is due in part to the strong social mission, the strong brand we've built with Google Summer of Code, as well as the deep interest in fintech. If we weren't participating in Google Summer of Code separately as a Mifos initiative, we would never have this same level of engagement as we do by simply being a project that participates through Apache in Google Summer of Code. So for this year's Google Summer of Code, through the Mifos Initiative, we're going to be directly mentoring 12 different interns from all around the world. And you can look at the projects that they'll be working on this summer. And then under the Apache Software Foundation, we'll also have 3 interns who are working on projects directly related to Apache Fineract. But we're very much looking forward to working with this team of interns. We've got some great new innovations that will help to push the offerings that we have on the mobile front, and we'll continue to make robust and stabilize our current mobile apps. Likewise, we'll be doing the same with our web apps, and then we'll be delivering some brand new features at the platform level through some of our interns. And one of our interns, Rajan, who's going to be working with Apache Fineract, will be building the first mobile field officer app that's powered by Generation 3. So please, stay tuned to updates on our blog, as we'll be talking about all the great work that our Summer of Code students will soon be kicking off. Next, you might be wondering, what is happening with Generation 3? So we've been talking a lot about the vision. We've been talking about Generation 3 coming for a while now. So the framework is now available on GitHub. You can access it from the link here, and you'll be able to click that from the presentation, or you can go do it right now just by searching Mifos.io on GitHub. And development has been guided by the Radar team at Quaylab, which was the development team based in Germany that has transitioned over from Mifos. And right now, both the pace of development and the initial roadmap is driven by initial pilots that Quaylab is working on. But once we do have the software as a part of Apache Fineract officially, we'll be able to really drive the scale of innovation and drive the rate of adoption by new partners, and then ultimately deepen the engagement we have with the community and establish a unified roadmap that's driven by the members of our project management committee at the Apache Software Foundation. So really the prerequisites that are needed to help us move forward with this is to, 1, get Generation 3 architecture into Apache Fineract as version 2.0, and we're working on that right now. And then once it's there as part of Apache, we want to make sure there's a reference implementation and a demo server so community members can easily see the power of the framework if they can't build the framework and host it themselves. And then to make it easier for developers and partners to build new innovation, we want to have a sandbox and clear APIs and toolkit available for them. But despite not having all of these tools in place yet, there are many partners in the community that are already beginning to explore and look to build on top of Generation 3. And here you can see some of the partners who are either starting to build or have been deeply exploring what is possible with the new Generation 3 digital financial services application framework. I'll pause here for a moment just so you can see some of these innovations, but all across the globe, we have partners that are either looking to become hosting providers for a digital financial services platform, they're looking to deliver a solution for a certain vertical, or they're providing mobile channels or mobile innovation and digital payment innovation. We look forward to encouraging other partners and brand new partners and existing partners to deepen their exploration of the framework so they can begin to build on top of the platform. So we have had partners who have gone and taken the framework and begun to host it in their own cloud environments. So despite there not being all the documentation we'd like to have in place, this is already possible right now. I wanted to pause a moment just to help, establish who Generation 3 is really ideal for at this current point in time, and then what you should be doing if you're a user of a Generation 2 solution or you're an individual institution and really want to start to achieve this vision of financial inclusion 2.0. So in terms of who Generation 3 is most ideal for right now, and on the partner front, it really is ideal for those partners who want to make the necessary investment to be able to provide the cloud infrastructure to host a digital financial services platform. And when I mean a digital financial services platform, I'm talking at the level of a nationwide solution that's capable of handling hundreds or thousands of institutions and up to millions of clients. And then secondly, Generation 3 is really ideal for those partners who want to build digital financial services innovation, and they want a modular framework in which to do it. So we've seen all sorts of innovation crop up on our current generation of Mifos, but many of these partners have been challenged by having to use the monolithic platform and not being able to scale as rapidly as they can. And with the microservices architecture and cloud native framework, they should be able to do just that. And then in terms of the user front, really at this point in time, the most important audience we want to try and reach with Generation 3 are those associations and apex organizations that want to deploy a nationwide solution for their individual member organizations. And so we look to our partners to help drive this outreach and advocacy locally and connect us with any associations who might be interested in learning more about a digital financial services platform. So we can work to get a provider in their region and work to help them be a part of achieving this vision. And then lastly, if you are an individual institution and you're ready to adopt digital financial services and you want to be a part of Generation 3 and help to achieve this vision of financial inclusion 2.0, hopefully you can wait till your partner moves to Generation 3, or you can wait till we have a digital financial services provider that's in your region, or soon, as I mentioned before, we'll have a globally available community-hosted digital financial services platform, and you can access it there. The framework itself might not be appropriate for an individual institution to deploy on its own, so it really should be driven through a partner or through this globally accessible solution. And to help articulate how we're taking this to market, I wanted to go back to the map we showed earlier with the 4 quadrants and take a look at one region where Quaylab, as our flagship and lighthouse partner, is working to show how the Mifos Initiative and its global community can help build out the ecosystem for a digital financial services platform to be adopted and implemented at scale. Within West Africa, we've been working closely with our certified silver partner Skylabase to conduct outreach to the respective associations for the various credit unions and cooperatives in the region. And Skylabase is now working closely with Quaylab as an on-the-ground implementation partner, promoting the hosted solution, but also continuing to build innovation for the Mifos community on both Generation 2 and Generation 3. So we very much, once we have more hosting platform providers like Quaylab in place, we want them to work closely with our existing deployment partners who can be the on-the-ground channel to not only promote these new platforms, but also implement and provide services around them. And we at the Mifos Initiative will continue to drive Mifos and Apache Finirect as an open standard, and then conduct the outreach and advocacy that we can do to the national associations, the national funders and regulators, such that they're ready and confident to adopt these solutions. And lastly, I just want to give a few ways in which you can take action right now. So if you're interested in building or really getting involved with the code of the new Generation 3 framework, you can explore the framework at Mifos.io on GitHub. And then you can also look at the white paper we have on it. And I send around links to some of the technical webinars we've hosted before. You can also begin by taking the framework and starting to build your app. Right now, the current functionality in the framework is rather limited. The first use cases that are being supported are individual lending and savings, and then we'll be adding group lending and shares and other features. So rapidly, you should start to see the same level of functionality that you see in Mifos X, but it will still probably be 1 to 2 years before solutions on Generation 3 are truly at feature parity with Mifos X. But we really look to our partners and the pilots that they drive to help guide new features going on to Generation 3. And then to that vein, we also ask that people share requirements for the features they need or for the solutions or applications that they'd like to see built on Generation 3. And then if you're not looking to really get involved in either building or implementing a solution, we want you to help in outreach of the new Generation 3. So you can evangelize these digital financial services platforms in your region. And you can primarily do this by connecting with associations or apex organizations or the national regulators. We also want our partners and volunteers and users to help in starting a local chapter, as we have the websites and toolkits in place to help you do that. And then, as I said before, we're looking to build these innovation labs and want you to reach out to the local innovation hubs and innovation community in your region. So that's everything I wanted to cover from my end from the webinar. You all have my contact information, but it's here once again. And now I'll unmute everybody for any questions or comments that you might have. So I'm going to unmute everybody and then take whatever questions that you may have. Okay. If you have a question, please let me know. Yeah, we have several minutes if there are any questions. I know this webinar probably hasn't answered all your questions about specifically around how new features will come in Generation 3 or how I might be impacted as a user or partner, but we'll continue to share more information through our blog and more information through our website on the new strategy, and especially as Generation 3 becomes a part of Apache Interact, provide more visibility to the new features and innovations that are coming. Oh yes, was there a question?
Quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Takudzwa.
Okay, we're moving to Generation 3. I think we've slowed down the development on Generation 2. So are there any other releases we can expect on the current Mifos, or we're finished with we wait for only releases when the Generation 3 has been developed and it's not mature?
Yeah, so I think I got most of your question, Kudzwa. So with Mifos X, we are going to have the first official release of Apache Interact as a top-level project coming out within a week or so. And then the first Mifos X distribution that will be powered by that will finally have the reskin of our web app on it, along with a number of bug fixes. And then, the primary source of new innovation on Mifos X in 2017 is going to be the work of our Google Summer of Code interns. So they're going to be continuing work that they started last summer and also driving new projects. So we're going to be delivering the version 4.0 of our mobile field officer app. And then we're also going to be delivering version 2.0 of our Android self-service app. We're going to be providing the first web self-service app. And then we'll also be delivering, offline access through the browser, a notifications framework, and continued enhancements to the web app. And then we'll also be providing a mobile money integration module, improvements to our credit bureau integration module, two-factor authentication, and improvements to our data import tool. And hopefully, if you're a subscriber to our mailing list, you've seen that we've started discussions regarding the use cases and requirements for a number of these projects. and I welcome all the partners and users in our community to please respond, as we have a feedback survey requesting feedback on the current version of our Android self-service app. We're looking to gather additional use cases for our mobile field officer app. We're looking to gather additional use cases for our web self-service app. On the mobile money integration front, we're looking for partners to provide access to the mobile money APIs in their country, or to simply provide the use cases and transaction flows for the mobile money system they need to integrate with. So despite all the new major development happening on Generation 3, we have a ton still happening on Generation 2, but we really need our user community to provide a voice of what they want to see, so the interns and volunteers and partners who are driving this can know what to build.
Okay, that answers my question. That's fine. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Takuzwa. Yes, please, if there are any other questions, let me know now. So.
I have a question about the tenancy model for the partners that are going to deliver the DFS platform. Mm-hmm. Is that going to be an instance of that platform for each financial institution that signs up?
Yes,
or is it multi-tenant?
It's still going to be, for most partners, it will still be a multi-tenant model, but with the with the sensibility of the framework, I believe partners should be able to access more private instances. But for scale and economies of scale, it'll still be similar to the multi-tenancy that's on the current generation of Mifos. But it really will be guided by whatever type of cloud infrastructure that partner chooses to set up. So. But thank you for that question, Faizi. Yeah, and sorry I couldn't answer it in a more technical manner, but I'll connect you with a representative at Quaylab who can answer that question more based on the cloud infrastructure they're using for their hosting of the platform. And hopefully soon, as we have other hosting providers of these digital financial services platforms, they'll be able to share their take on that as well.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do have institutions that aren't networks and they aren't the hosting platform providers that are also looking at Generation 3. So we do have a large bank in Indonesia that's looking at building on top of Generation 3. So even though I said the framework isn't necessary, or it might be overkill for small individual institutions, it is a great option for larger institutions that want an open environment in which to build upon and scale their services.
Okay, all right, good, thanks.
Sure. Yeah, so we still have 5 more minutes, so welcome any additional questions that individuals might have. So.
Hello, Ed. Could I ask a question?
Yeah, Moses, did you have a question?
Yes, I kindly wish to confirm how long will the support for Generation 2 remain? Like for how long?
Yeah, so we don't have an official timeline for when Generation 2 will officially be brought to end of life, but the majority of our community and partners are still using it and supporting those solutions. So we will have bug fixes and maintenance releases for Mifos X for at least the next year to year and a half, and then we really look to partners and users and volunteers in the community to help in providing those fixes and help in contributing new features so that can happen more rapidly. And I don't have a definitive timeline for when migration path to Generation 3 might be available, but that is something that will ultimately be available once partners in our community are ready for it and the Generation 3 framework is ready for Generation 2 users to migrate over.
Okay, thank you.
But we very much recognize that we have a vast global community that relies upon and is using Mifos X, and that it'll be continued to be made mature, and any bugs that are found will be fixed. And we really want to look to our partners, especially as we're now part of Apache FinRack, to really step up and help guide those efforts too.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as I'm just seeing if there are any other questions, like we will, I know that the pace of having regular user and developer meetings hasn't been as often as it was in the past, but we do want to move back to that format, especially to use these meetings to help discussions and gather requirements and get feedback on the solutions that are being built throughout the community. And likewise, we want to use these meetings as a means to express the case studies and tell the stories of innovations that you're building. And then I do want to, reiterate once again that a key part of helping the Mifos Initiative to grow its brand and promote its thought leadership is, being open and willing to share your story about the innovations you've built, as we as a global community should be very proud of what's been powered by Mifos and Apache Fineract. And I want to make sure that we tell the broader industry at large, because many individuals in the financial inclusion space still might only think of Mifos where we were, 5 years ago when we were coming out of Grameen, and we have a lot of accomplishments that we've achieved, great milestones that we can speak to, and I want to make sure that we have the data and impact to tell that story properly. So I'll be reaching out, and as I have already, to partners and users in the community to help to document either case studies of your users or looking at profiles of the solutions that you've built that are powered by Mifos and Fineract. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, we'll end and give you back 2 minutes of your time. But I want to thank everybody who was able to join the session today. And then if you registered and are just listening to the recording of the webinar, thank you for doing that as well. But hopefully you found this beneficial in helping to add more color to our vision of financial inclusion 2.0 and helping to understand, how it's redefining and shaping the new strategy of the Mifos Initiative going forward. And then how this might impact you as a user, partner, or volunteer in the community, and what you can expect over the next several months as we begin to bring Generation 3 forward and help to establish ourselves as a community within Apache Fineract and help to grow our voice for financial inclusion worldwide. So thank you everyone for your attendance today, and thank you for all the contribution you've made in helping the Mifos community get to where we've gotten thus far. Okay, take care everyone. Have a good morning, day, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.